Well, hello everyone. It's kind of different giving a presentation here when you don't see anyone. But I did give somebody gave me the go ahead that I can go ahead. So the session is really open for an hour today. Sheldon Cudmore, who works in our recruiting and first year advisement, will be fielding the chat for questions. And I will be giving a really short 20-minute presentation on the expectations of your child or when they come to the college. And I'll certainly hang around afterwards for specific questions and see if we can answer those. So, but my introduction is, my name is Lorna Hughes, and I'm the registrar and the executive director of student experience here at the college. And we did have a discussion with our team and felt that, maybe we'll do a presentation specifically to guardians and parents, appreciating your involvement as they come to college. As a parent myself, I did send my oldest away last year and did feel an immediate disconnect on what he was doing. And I have a couple more here coming up. So I can feel the disconnect, and I felt that maybe a good idea to kind of have a little presentation to go over, the college and really the supports in place. So I'm going to share a screen and give you a short presentation. Again, it's very short. If you have some questions, you can ask them in the chat, and then afterwards we will spend a lot of time, really right till 4 o'clock, asking any kind of questions and dealing with any questions people might have. Give me 1 second here and we'll share this. So I am hoping that, like everybody can see this and hear it. If not, Sheldon will tell me that. So really, I mean, at this point, your family member has already chosen to come to college. The college has been around for over 50 years. There's about 2,500 students in the school, and we're spread out through a few different campuses, and I'll show you quickly those. The main campus is really in Charlottetown, and we are spread out over a couple spots. What I really wanted to, we'll talk a little bit about today is just the difference. We're really skills based. So what that means is that our students spend a significant amount of time in practical learning, whether that's OJT placements or whether it's in the trades or whether it's in healthcare. We have active labs and paramedicine. So there's a lot of practical hands-on learning that goes on. We do have over 60 programs. What we would say is why students choose to go the college route is because of employment, and our employment rates are consistently above 90%. And it's super important to us that the return on investment is there and that students choose to come to college and there's employment opportunities afterwards. And something that has probably grown over the last decade is what we would call degree pathways. They used to be called 2+2s, or they used to be called articulation agreements. There's lots of degree pathways, and the majority of our programs does have a degree pathway to allow a student who may not think at this point they want to do any more education than just 2 years, but it allows them to graduate and have that opportunity there for them. So what this is a unique presentation to parents and guardians, and we kind of felt these are some areas that they may want to talk about. And one is really, we'll talk a little bit about the program length, which is different. And we do find a lot of times that parents or guardians may have not gone to college, so their expectations may be of maybe a university format, so they're not sure how the college runs. So we're going to just briefly talk on that. We'll talk a little bit of our locations. If you are from out of province, there are a couple of different locations, so that may have impacts on getting groceries or shopping, that type of thing. I do want to spend some time to talk about supports, and you know, from a parent's point of view, I feel like that's really important, that if you're not here with your son or daughter, that you know that there are supports in place. And the other one is tuition. I mean, a lot of times that, you know, it's us who are covering that bill or supporting with that bill. So it's important to know how those things are done, because a lot of things are going to come at the student in the first 2 or 3 weeks of school. So, and I know you may be asking a lot of questions as well. So we're try to share some of that information beforehand. So if you are or not familiar with the college, we are spread out across the island. We do have, you'll see that the black dots kind of are the college campuses. And then we have another wing of the college, which is adult ed, which again is spread across the island as well. So we do have a number of campuses right across the island. The bulk is really in the capital cities. Charlottetown's capital, and that's where the bulk of our students are. But we're up in Georgetown East, and we have our trades programs in Summerside, and then we are up in Alberton as well. And for your knowledge, which I think parents and guardians would like to know, is so we really do have about 2,400 students. That's what we're looking for each year. And the bulk of those students are at what we call our Prince of Wales campus. So that blue area right here, that houses just well over 1,500 students in that area. So that is really the bulk of where the students are going. And again, the majority are 2-year programs. We do have some that are 1 years, but the majority of those are 2-year programs. And the majority of them follow the traditional school year of coming in here in September and finishing at the end of April. So if we move around, just the West Prince campus in Alberton, they're a little under 100 for anybody that's going to the culinary or tourism programs. They're a little under 400. Our trades programs probably grown a little bit. That is the green area here. They are looking at about 300 students. Offsite is online delivery programs. The Marine Training Center, which is in Summerside, they do a lot of contract training too, but we just have one program there. The Georgetown Center, which is east, 2 main programs, welding and plumbing there. And then finally our Atlantic Police Academy program, which it has a couple of traditional programs that start in August: professional firefighting, conservation, correction officer, and sheriff. And then we have the police science program, which starts in January. So they kind of run a little more in a load and go system where they come in at different times. But so my point is that if your child is coming and they say they're at the Prince of Wales campus, that is the bulk of our students, and we have about 1,500 students in there. And these are numbers from last year. I would not see those numbers changing by any great deal. Probably we've seen a bump in the trades program. So Summerside, the green area here, is probably going to bump up a little bit. Now, so this is kind of what we call, we're going to take a little bit of time in this one. This is a program map. So all of our 60 programs have this. Your student, and that's how I'll refer to your student, has one of these. They have access to it. So they can share this information with you at any time. You want to say, well, how does the college work? Well, this is generally how it works. So up in this corner, they're all different. The admission requirements for all our programs are all different. So each program has a program advisory committee. So for the kinesiology program, that would be kinesiologist, occupational therapist, physiotherapist from across the Maritimes. They meet once a year and they go over this program map, and to make sure that all these courses are applicable to the industry, remembering that our bread and butter is to make sure that the students that take our program are employable. So each admission requirement here in the top left-hand corner, that's devised by the program. So once a student comes in semester 1, these are the courses that they have to take. So very few of our programs have what we call in a traditional university environment, like an elective. Can they choose the programs? Generally, no, they can't choose the courses they're going to take. These courses are prescribed and laid out for them and scheduled for them. So we are cohort based. So the kinesiology program, like all of our other programs, they come in a cohort. So this would be a cohort of 35 students. Generally, our cohorts are probably between like 20 and 24. We have a few bigger ones. Business, culinary are some big ones, but generally they're around the 25 students. So we've accepted 25 students. So in this case, kinesiology, there's 35 students going to start with us in September, and they're all going to take these courses together. So they're going to take, and they can't move on. So semester 2 is then in January. Then you have your summer break, and you're back into semester 3, which is September. And then you're back into semester 4 after Christmas. So these are all prescribed programs for a student. Now, students do have the ability, if they do have prior education, to apply for transfer credit. So if they were at a school prior to coming here, they can meet with the registrar's office when they get here, and they can apply for a transfer credit. So say the anatomy course, they can apply to say, I've taken this somewhere else, can I get credit for that? And it will be reviewed to see if they get credit for that. But 99% of our students are coming and they're taking all the same courses together. And if you see this, this is a heavy load. So one of the things that we do get is surprising, particularly for direct from high school students, is that, you know, and again, I have one in grade 12 this year too. Maybe after Christmas, they decide to take a free period. So they're taking 3 courses. So they really have, you know, an afternoon off. One of the bigger transitions for the direct from high school students is the workload when they arrive at the college, and they do get surprised by that. But if you see right here, they have to take all these courses. So generally a student, and we'll go over kind of the homework a little bit, but generally students are spending at least 25 hours a week at the college. So they're given their schedule. Their schedule is really based on a 9 to probably 3 time period. Friday afternoons may not be a whole lot of classes, but anything in between there, they are generally having classes. So you'll see that in semester 2, generally there's a prerequisite on the bottom here. So they have to pass these courses to move into semester 2. So again, that's probably one of the things that catch students off guard is the workload when they come in. Our advice to parents would be that, you know, the first semester, if it's their first time coming to school, it does come at them fairly quick. And it's really important to get organized. And I'll talk a little bit about our supports, but you know, if your student's coming home saying, well, I didn't have a whole lot of class today, well, there are classes to go to. So you may want to look at the program map or ask for their schedule. So then on the other side here, we have additional program requirements, and they are courses, they're called non-credit program requirements, and they're unique to every program. And in the kinesiology program, we're seeing that they have to do standard first aid, occupational health and safety, and there are a couple of professional internship preparation and another internship. So you will see those in the schedule, and they're different for each program. And a lot of our programs, you will see a practicum in there. And practicums can be anywhere between, you know, 6 to 12 hours to, in some instances, like child and youth care worker, if anybody's in child and youth care worker or any of the community studies, early childhood, human services, there are significant practicums in each semester. So that's that what we call as a WIL, it's a work integrated learning, where the students go out and they work in an area. And that's a big component of the learning as well. So I guess my advice to you, if you want it, when your student comes back to say, hey, can I look at your course map? They can get access to that course map. So that's something you may want to look at to give you a clear understanding of how the 2 years work. Again, very prescribed. The next one, and I say this as, again, as a parent, because I know when we ask and you say, do you have any homework? Nope, I don't have any homework. Here's the survey that we did with our students last year. So these are our students. It was only done last year. we do a student experience survey. We survey a bunch of things, but one of the things that we started surveying over the last couple of years was, on average, my weekly studies time outside the classroom is. So this is outside those 4 classes they have, which generally are hour-and-a-half classes. So this is outside their 20 hours of class time or 18 hours of class time. We have in the bolded section is percentage. So we have 30% of our students that are saying at least 15 hours or more. And then we have 30% of our students that are saying at least 10 hours, but less than 15. So that is a bulk of significant population of our students that are saying at least over 10 hours a week that they're spending in school or spending studying. So, and then the last is at least 5 hours, but not less than 10. That's another 25%. And then the lower number here is less than 5 hours. So statistically, our students are spending time doing work outside the class time. So this is something that I kind of would like to know as a parent, and I hope you would like to know that this is what students are saying to us. So that's something just to be aware of. If you know, there's gonna be a lot of learning the first month, but there should be stuff done on their own. And based on those numbers, that's the reality here. So I'm going to go in just to our support systems, and this is a key one, I think, and this is why we're having this presentation. Is you know, it's difficult. We found for parents, and again, have my own child go through it, is we're so involved with knowing when they have their tests. And if you're on an island, if you're here, or probably Maritimes too, we have Power School, which gives us an app and gives us regular updates of whether they're in class or what marks, and you can see their schedule. But when they hit the college, there is none of that. We deal with every student as an adult. And so that disconnect can be, it was challenging for me as a father, and I'm sure it's a lot challenging for parents. And, you know, we wanted to make sure that the parents were aware of what support system there are in place. And I'm just going to go over these a little bit, and, you know, we can spend some time if you have questions afterwards. So the primary support person is what we call a learning manager, and universities will call it a faculty, and you know, secondary schools will call them teachers, but we call them learning managers. Sometimes they're called instructors. So remember when I talked about that the programs are cohort based. So if we have 30 students in the 30 students in one cohort, you at least have 2 faculty members there, full-time learning managers. And I would say to students all the time, these learning managers are going to know you in the next couple of weeks, and they're going to know all the good things, and they're going to know all the bad things as well. They're going to become your biggest advocate, and they are the biggest support system that we have for students. And it takes time to build our relationship with other students, but we always say to students that they are your biggest supporters, and you need to go to them. If they're running into difficulties, which they will run into difficulties, there's no question there. They need to go to them. And where we find the challenge sometimes is that naturally the student will not go to anybody until they are really in a situation. And it always, and I've been here a while, it generally is after Thanksgiving, where the shine kind of is off a little bit about starting something new, and the assignments start to add up, and you might get some marks. So that's one we always kind of need to pay a little bit of attention to. So if you talk to your student based on, you know, how much homework they have to do, you know that it's a prescribed program, they should be on top of this stuff. Like any post-secondary institution, we are dealing with providing more mental health supports for the students, and the college is no different than anyone where's else. We have mental health counselors in every campus. We have an online program where students can book discreetly appointments. It's absolutely free. And there's a student union pay into a fund that allows students, called the wellness program, and allows students to gain access to to counselors through text, through phone, really at any time. So, you know, you can talk to your student about that stuff. And then we do have a health clinic with a nurse practitioner and an LPN at the Prince of Wales campus. So it's a really busy spot, but it's a good spot for students to go to. Again, these are all free services. We certainly encourage students to, you know, we share the information out, and it's a booking system. Again, it's online, can be done discreetly, and it's an area that most post-secondaries have grown in, and we certainly want to have as well. Then we have academics, student support workers, and I'll talk a little bit about this group because they're an important piece of our support, our academic support. They are spread out in all campuses, and they would be similar to, on a certain level, that educational assistants in the secondary school system, but our group really doesn't deal with behavioral issues. They deal with, you know, generally that student, for whatever reason, I haven't studied in a while. I may have a learning disability. I need a quiet room to study. This is what this group would work with, and they are a busy group. And it's an area that has grown for the college, and we've seen benefits as our attrition numbers have gone down, because we do feel we're throwing the supports there. The other really key group is our first year advisors, and Sheldon's on with me, and I'm sure your students have talked to your first year advisor. So it's first year advisors and recruiters, and they are, again, they have specific programs. So Sheldon would be responsible for a suite of programs as all the other first year advisors. And that's the group to really talk with the students now, assist them with the registration process, make sure that they're doing everything they need to do so they don't feel behind on day one. And that group it's just a relationship that if there are some issues that, you know, if the student can reach out to the first year advisor. Again, it's that onboarding that's super important to us. Now, this is a new concept. It's probably maybe somewhat unfamiliar with everybody, but this is an academic alert. So academic alerts are issued by the learning manager. So I've just kind of copied some, pasted some of what a student would receive. So now, if you look at it through the eyes of the college, is that if we take 30 students in the cohort, unlike other schools, like a university, we can't, if students aren't successful and they decide that, you know, after Thanksgiving, this, you know, kinesiology is not for me. Well, we go from 35 to 34. We can't resell that seat. They're not coming back in. So at college levels, retention and attrition is super important to us. It's also difficult for a student who says, you know, I think I wanted to be a pastry art chef because they're watching it on TV and it looked really cool. Then they got here and figured out like 3 weeks in, like, this is not for me. So it's really important for the college to find a way to identify the students to say, what's off here? Why aren't you showing up to class? Why are your assignments late? So it's really important for us to do that. So a number of years ago, there was introduced what's called an academic alert. So there's 2 levels of academic alerts. There's a level 1 and there's a level 2. And we are encouraging learning managers to issue those as, you know, early in the year as they can. And they can be anything from, you know, not engaged in class, not showing up to some classes is definitely one, some late assignments. And again, it comes back to that relationship with the learning manager and the student. So a student would receive this type of email, and I'm not going to read it, but you'll see it there. So this is an email they get. This is an academic alert 1. Now what happens is academic alert 1, if let's use kinesiology, if John is in kinesiology, and his instructor sends him an academic alert 1. Again, it is a supportive tool. It also goes to the academic support worker. So our academic support workers have a suite of programs. So our academic support worker for kinesiology would be Chris. He would then reach out to John via email as well. Say, John, I see you need an academic alert. Is there anything we need to talk about? And it could be a whole host of things. I'm in the wrong program, or it could be I just I need to get started. I feel like I'm behind. I need to learn how to study. So there's these supports that go in. So you know, your student will be receiving these, and sometimes they don't want to say anything because it's a little embarrassing. Fair enough. They don't need to, but they will be receiving academic alerts, and they just need to access some of these resources around them. And there's a lot of resources. There's an academic alert 1, and if it's found a point where, you know, John's coming to kinesiology, he's still late and still not engaged, and they may be an academic alert issued for number 2. And really what we're trying to get at is, if over the 15-week semester, which is very short, if your habits don't change, you may fail this course. And if, when I showed you those maps, there's a prerequisite to everything in semester 2. So many times if a student fails a course, sometimes it's the end of their program because they can't continue because they needed that course. So there's a lot of supports being in there, but, you know, I guess my recommendation would be is to have those open conversations now with your student to say, you know, there's a lot of supports here. Take advantage of those supports. And we do have a lot of students taking advantage of them, and they are super helpful. But sometimes the first ones can be a little jolting to the student and they may not know what to do, but having those conversations now would be helpful. So close it off with a couple here, and this would be the ones that, you know, as parents, we probably we pay for or support. So is the tuition. So there's 2 types of tuition, and I'm not going to go through all the tuitions here with everybody, but there's 2 types of tuition. There's a program-based tuition. So really, if generally that's the majority of our trades programs. So we're in a trades program. So the student must pay, as you see, 60% of the tuition and lab fees by the first day of school. And then when they come back, the second half of the program, which is after Christmas, then they pay the 40% of that. So that's program based. So really, if you're in a trades program, generally you're in a program based tuition. The vast majority of our programs are in course based. So you are going to pay for the courses and any type of fees, student union fee and health fee, international fee. Those are all due the first day of the semester. So if you can look at your fee schedule, and your student can share that with you. The other thing I thought was interesting to share too was the what happens if, you know, they're not interested in the program. So remembering that in every one of the programs that we have starting on the 1st of September, there was a big pool of students that applied. So I'll go back to, you know, let's say we'll go back to kinesiology. So we've accepted 35 students, but we probably have 80 to 90 students that have applied, and probably 65 to 70 of them are qualified for the program. We rank them, we take the top 35. So it's generally an oversubscribed list in the majority of our programs. So once a student sits kind of in their seat, they have until September 18th if they say, no, this is not for me, which happens. The student is charged $50, and there's really no grading. Once we start to get into grades, and this has implications if they want to do a degree pathway or they want to transfer somewhere else, this is where we get into somewhat implications of them. We try to keep the withdrawal as long as we can. So a student can do right up until the 13th of October, they can withdraw. And for a host of reasons, they can decide that they're going to leave the program, but they get charged 50% of the course. Up till November 10th, they can still withdraw. They still get a W on the transcript, which they prefer, but rather than an F. But they are on the hook for the 100% of the course. And then anything after November 14th, they will be charged the full amount of the program, and they do get an F on the course. So not that just something to pay attention to as we kind of move forward a little bit on this stuff. And finally, that, you know, I think students really should pay attention to, and we do have more that apply, but there are lots of opportunities to apply. So we've surpassed the entrance one, but there are enrolled awards. So those are specific awards for students that are in Holland College, and it's even specific to a program. It could be specific to their home province. It's not a big deal to fill out an application, and I know that your student will be busy by that time, but there are ways you can just fill the applications out online. They can do them. And you never know. There's a lot of money given out, even $400 or $500 are given out, and that goes against their January intake. So those are things I felt as a parent, I wish I kind of knew a little more about that. And they can do that. And I'll just end the last one, and then we can move somewhat into questions. Is some of my responsibilities, or a lot of my responsibilities, are the international officer, first year recruiting. They kind of report to this office, and we do have parents that call and they'll say, I would like to talk to about, John and his kinesiology program. And we say, well, we can't talk to you. We can't talk to anybody about John, only talk to John. And that's a bit of a jolt as a parent, the first time to hear that. But there is a form. It is a release of information form that you can ask your student to, they can download and get. And they sign it, and they take it back in and they give it to us. We put it on the student file, which then allows a parent or anybody else, really, they identify who it is. Generally, it's usually a parent. If they have some questions, we can answer those questions, but we can't answer those questions until that form is signed. And it is really up to the student on if they want to share that form or not. So it's something that we just want to pay attention to. We're not trying to hide anything, but we really deal with these students as they are, as our students, and any more information has to come from a release of information. So that's kind of my presentation. I think I was up to that time here. I'm gonna ask Sheldon here to help me out with some questions if he can, but I will take any questions anybody may have now.
Yeah, Lordy, we have one question about how to get a letter of enrollment, and maybe you could detail what the letter of enrollment is used for as well.
Okay. Yeah, so letter of enrollment, a lot of times if you want to access money like from your RSPs, or if you any kind of funding partner, they need a letter of enrollment. Students can do those through Web Advisor. You can put a request there, or if you're here, you can come, the registrar's office will give that. You do have to be registered though. Make sure you are registered before we can give out letters of enrollment.
Another question on where it can go pay tuition and residence fees for the first day of school.
So good question. Depending on what we have admission staff in each one of the campuses that can take both those fees. So if you're depending on what campus you're in, and if you're not sure, the Montgomery Hall, where the admissions administration building is, you can do it there. There is a way. I just saw. If you want to pay in advance, there is on the website. There is a way, if you go on your program, that you can make some of those payments online.
There's a question of what happens if a student hasn't received their student loan and unable to pay on time? Do most students get a personal loan from the bank?
So each campus has an a student account advisor on that. So if there's a delay in any type of funding, student loan or anything else, you can meet with the student account advisor and build a bit of a plan there. So that is a common occurrence sometimes, and particularly if you're coming from out of province, sometimes there's a bit of a delay. But again, the thing is just to come in that first day, you can come over to admissions and find that person and sit down and go over a bit of a schedule on that.
One question is how to apply for student ID, so your hall pass.
Yeah, so the Hall Pass office is in at the Prince of Wales campus. There is a separate location set up in Summerside. There's a bit of a process you can see online to do that prior to. You can send your stuff in, but if you don't have it done when you get here, it's not going to impede anything for the first couple of weeks of school. But there are 2 spaces in Summerside and 1 in Charlottetown where you can get that done.
There was a question as well. Are there any place on campus that can be used for storage, for example, winter tires?
Unfortunately, not.
There was a similar question with tuition. If not getting there basically for the first day, would they be able to do it? Yeah, remotely. I think you answered that there with that. If a student is in on a parent's medical and opt out of medical, can they receive services from the college? Example, counseling and nurse.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, all student services will still be available to all students if they opt out of the insurance. And the insurance to be opted out is just for basic health and dental to make sure that all students are covered.
That's correct. Yes.
There's a question, why is the tuition fee paid showing minus in the portal? So that would mean that you have maybe an overpayment, so you would actually have a credit on your account.
Correct.
There's a good question of just things that you may need for living in residence. I just shared the link with just kind of the residence handbook just in the chat there, just a lot of lists of things that'd be good, things that'll be available, and things that you can kind of bring.
Good one.
But I'll also share a link for everybody, just is our orientation page. It's a great resource for all students coming in and a great area for parents to check out. So there's a lot of great information for events, upcoming stuff, things to know, dates, and there's like a specific program page area. So they can go check out what books they may need and kind of areas of like any specific equipment they might need as well. One question there, Laurie, is the residence still available?
There's currently a waiting list on residents. You can contact there, but there's currently a waiting list on for residents, both residents.
Uh, for students living in residence, is there any food options?
So the residents are apartment style. So they can, generally, most students buy their food. There is, I do see in the chat there, yes, culinary students do have an option to buy a meal plan, but that would be the lone one.
Just shared a link. We did have a question. Is there a list of off-campus living options on your website? We did share a link with our off-campus living, just kind of gives an option of areas you can rent. And then there is we do get some lease and rental agreements sent from public that could be close to your campus. So it's definitely worth checking out for sure. There was a couple of questions as well. If students didn't get their study permit before the start date of their program.
Yeah, so I think each program has what we call a deadline of, students can't start past that date. And generally it's, into the second week, mid-second week. So, I mean, if you can't get here by, I would say the 13-ish of September, then you may want to look at, another year. And that's just because our programs are so heavy, that missing a full first week is not advantageous to the student.
Another question, as an international coming in on the 3rd of September, can I pay my fees on the 4th and 5th? Just as they will need to get in with their banking. Will it be too late for residents? Will I be allowed to be the accommodation? So assuming they book. So just wondering if they can still make their payments on the 3rd to 5th.
Yeah, tuition payments are not due till the first day of classes.
Is there a deadline to where we have to pay dorm fees?
If you've been accepted into residence, you would have had to pay a confirmation fee, and then the residence fees are due the first day of school.
Can students receive deliveries at the dorm, such as medical supplies, if they require them?
Yes.
Can we use our student ID card for buses within PEI?
No, there's no program where you can buy bus passes at the bookstore here. They're relatively cheap. You can buy them per month. So that's what I'd advise a student to do.
Just a few more questions just based on study permits and just the refusal and just this. If there is any question on that, I think I mentioned it in the chat just a couple times. It's best to just email recruitment@hollandcollege.com so we can individually look at your specific application and possibly study permit to better assist you with that. So just again, email recruitment@hollandcollege.com and we'll get back to you as soon as we can for sure. Are there jobs for students within the college? Good question.
There are a few, but not a lot. I wouldn't count on it. There are a couple opportunities in library and athletics, but there wouldn't be a lot.
We do have an on-campus career advisor at the Prince of Wales campus who can assist with students to find possibly some part-time work during their time here at the college. I've just posted the link there with it as well. So it's a good option to meet with Haley Doherty and can just kind of put you in the right direction of maybe finding other part-time jobs that we get listings and postings for sure. Is there a set first day of classes, or is it based on the course you're in?
No, there's definitely a set first day of classes. And I think Sheldon might have mentioned that too. There's a really good website. On our website, they have it broken down into all the activities that are happening, particularly if you're moving into residence a little bit early. Yeah, the first day of classes is on September the 5th. So there's activities that happen during that first week, but yeah, it is important to get here the first day.
There was one question: are loans and financial aids available for international students?
There's the enrolled awards that are available to all students. There wouldn't be, we don't have loans available.
There was another question: is there a way to receive mail at the dorms? Which we did answer. There is mailboxes at all the dorms, yes. Can I register for a health card even if I am not yet in PEI?
I think you need to be on PEI to fill that documentation out.
There was one question. Someone had a question about if the first day starts at 12. That is just specifically for the pizza day event that's listed on there. If you go, Lauren, if you want to go back a bit to the program information page and just maybe select specific programs like business or something like that, you can show specifically where to be and everything like that. But yeah, each class will have a specific time, typically about 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. And it will tell you kind of where to be at what class specifically. So yeah, kind of Lauren will highlight that here. Exactly like that. So if you're in the bioscience technology program, it would have said, yeah, 9 a.m. on that day. Yeah, homepage, hollandcollege.com, goes to the orientation page, goes to this program information area, lists all the programs we have here, and it talks about all the important dates there. So especially that first one there, 9 a.m. for most programs you'll see, and it will tell you the class and everything where you need to be. That's great. Thanks, Lonnie.
Good point there.
One question: do international students starting in October need to be on campus by September?
Not sure what program you're starting in October.
Possibly our resident care worker program in Surrey.
Yeah, or what? West Prince. I think Surrey starts in September.
Yeah.
Whenever the start date of your program, I'm not sure which one you're referring to in October. You have to be there at the start date of the program.
We will just note, we did have this planned for an hour, so we will stay on for another 7 minutes here for any other questions. So please let us know other ones.
So just to Lydia's, yeah, resident care worker. So that'd be the West Prince. So you don't have to be here until then. Till the start date of the October resident care worker program.
Um, there was one question, can the college help with accommodation outside of campus? I did share just our living off campus link one more time. Again, it will just have some listings of rooms available. People are posting that they've been verified by the college and everything, which is great. And then just some links as well for possibly like Kijiji or like Killam apartment rentals of areas that are great as well. And it also details transportation links and everything like that as well. Heather Davids as a question. The class schedule is showing all classes are 9 to 11, Monday to Friday, no books. Heather, if you want to send us an email at recruitment@hollandcollege.com, we can definitely take a better look in specifically to double check that schedule and check the books as well. So again, just an email at recruitment@hollandcollege.com.
What program are you talking about, Heather?
Graphic design.
Yeah, not sure. I mean, it's a good idea from Sheldon. You're definitely more than 9 to 12, 9 to 11. Not sure where that's coming from, but if you send that email to Sheldon, they can kind of figure that out for you.
One point again, someone mentioned some of their classes may be clashing. So for a specific program, again, it'd be best to just send us an email at recruitment@hollandcollege.com and we can take a better look at the schedule for sure. For it, none of the classes really should clash if registered correctly, because the system just makes sure that it's all in line. But we can certainly look just to double check. So yeah, send us an email at recruitment@hollandcollege and we can definitely look. One question there, Lorne. Can I get my course deferred to January in case I'm unable to get my study permit before school begins?
So we don't defer applications. You may want to just reach out to the advisor you're working with a little bit. We'll try to build a bit of a plan, but as I talked about earlier, it's fairly prescribed that you need to take your first semester courses before you get into your second semester courses. So if any student's not able to get here for September, we would say that you may want to look at next September.
One question, how fast can I register for my courses if I uploaded my study permit recently? That once your study permit is uploaded, it just needs to be reviewed by admissions. And then when that's done, they'll switch over your status as long as everything else is complete. And then you'll be moved to students is what we call it. And then you'll be able to register. So as soon as your application says received, you should then be able to, or your study permit says received on your dashboard account, you should then be able to register. Field this last question here, Lorne. Is it possible to apply for residence at Holland College this moment?
I think it's possible, but just to be clearly aware that there is a waiting list now. Applying at this point, your chances are you're not going to get a room at residence.
I just fired in just a little thanks for coming and just kind of further all kind of questions of recruitment at Holland College again, if needing any information. Again, that goes to just needing check schedules, study permits, or anything like that, or anything else. And one final question there, what about residents at West Prince campus?
So we don't have a residence at our West Prince campus. That would be off-campus accommodations, and I think Sheldon might have sent that information that you would be responsible for finding your housing at West Prince.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's great, Lorne. Any closing remarks you have?
No, just well, thank everybody for taking the time today, and hopefully that spurs maybe some conversations with your students. And we certainly look forward to meeting with them, and we look forward to supporting them through their journey here. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.